The Wild Bunch from Sam Peckinpah, a very celebrated classic of American and world cinema, one of America's most admired film directors. But where do I stand on this man and this, his most well known film? Well, I like most of Peckinpah. I don't really care much for the features he made before The Wild Bunch, but most of his works Wild Bunch on are some of the most exciting American films of their time. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia is utterly watchable. Pat Garrett is one of the most impressive westerns of its decade. Cross of Iron might be on the short list of very greatest war films ever. Films like The Killer Elite and The Getaway are very thoroughly solid genre fare, impressive flicks. Ballad of Cable Hogue features one of Jason Robards' best turns, and then Straw Dogs is one of the most impactful films ever made. Few films drip such sheer atmosphere and are willing to explore that level of disquieting human amorality. Straw Dogs is one of the oldest films that will remain controversial for many decades to follow. Even 1983's The Osterman Weekend is more impressive than you might expect it to be. Of course, The Wild Bunch was one of Peckinpah's greatest achievements, if the one which I found most captivating and bewitching and blood-chillingly unnerving is 71's Straw Dogs. Wild Bunch, though, might be my second favourite. The assertive finesse of the film's techno-aesthetic, its doubling of an analysis of a historical transition to a reassessment of a certain genre, its own, the American Western, in the present. The predictable moral fables replaced with grotesque action spectacles, and a film which so attempted to convey the horrors of bloody violence that its techniques became embraced by action films to follow, which had no intent to demonize the violence, but on the contrary, to glorify it. It makes you wonder the merits of, not this film, but of this film's anti-violence angle, the more moralizing angle, if it just would totally backfire on director Peckinpah. But hey, Brave New World was a prescribed text in high schools, and people did not learn. That future came to pass. Does that make Huxley's writing, speculations, and concerns any less impressive? Maybe it does. I'll have to do some more thinking about that. I certainly felt Salad Days went a bit too reactionary on the violence, if I may be bold. What I like most about The Wild Bunch is the execution and the watchability of it all. I am less interested in it as what Peter Greenaway might term an illustrated text, as some film adaptation of an unwritten great American novel, and more in it as bravura, spectacle, and aggressive existential nihilist bloody bombast, I may just suggest. I may be accused of missing the point, but I am not, I insist. I'm just choosing to ignore it, because it just seems obvious that aestheticizing something, anything, is still inherently romanticizing it. Sorkin's portrayal of Zuckerberg comes across as a creepy whitewashing now, doesn't it? Many have even accused A Few Good Men of essentially playing devil's advocate for the Jack Nicholson character, and that many right-wing groupies in the United States admired the film for that very reason. Saving Private Ryan is an anti-war film complete with a PTSD-inducing Storming the Beach intro, but ends in action movie set pieces and a convicted belief in good versus evil, and certainly not warding off anyone who appreciates warfare, explosive spectacle, or military ventures. The same could be said of earlier supposed anti-war films like All Quiet on the Western Front and Kubrick's Paths of Glory. Truffaut already famously said it, and I think he was totally right. Romper Stomper didn't do much to convince some loony susceptible to neo-Nazism and white supremacy that maybe they ought not go down that violent path. A Clockwork Orange even comes across as reveling in controversy whilst insisting it is anti-violent, which isn't necessarily a contradictory position, although it isn't totally obvious that it is not a contradiction or oversight on the filmmaker's part. By 1969, there was little like this film, and even by the 1980s, you almost couldn't believe a film like it could exist. And at this moment in time, we can hardly believe that a film from 1969 could be bloody and ruthless and wickedly entertaining on a par with some films released in the 1990s. I have a great respect for Peckinpah, many film fans do, and I suspect, depending on how many of us choose, and it is a choice, to get our panties in knots about simulated film violence, many more film fans for generations to come will do so too.